Hi, I'm Iris Acker, and we are on stage. We're going to be on stage with a phenomenal group that performs for the deaf and with the deaf. Isn't that fascinating? I'm fascinated by it, so I know you will too. I want you to meet from South Plantation High School, which is a very, very special high school that has this very, very special program, the co-directors. And I'm sitting here with Jason Zembuch and Michelle Terl. And I hope the two of you get along very well and that you're doing this not only as drama teachers, but because it's from the heart as well.
Of course.
Okay, let's start with Jason.
Yes.
What is this all about? How did all this start? Why are you working with the deaf and for the deaf?
Well, South Plantation High School for the last 30 plus years has hosted the only program in Broward County that actually services the deaf and hard of hearing in our public high school system. So South Plantation, I came to South 5 years ago, and in an effort, one of the philosophies that we have is that we like to have as inclusive of a theater program as possible. We managed to actually recruit into the program and offer up to the students at South that theater is accessible to everybody. I had a large number of the deaf students that became interested. They started to audition for the shows and get involved, and so it was simply a natural evolution of things.
Natural, but it's not so natural when you have those who speak and hear working with the deaf. Am I right?
Well, you know, when you first get started, you do think that there might be a bit of an issue there, but actually, I think that the students work really well together. I think the hearing students in the program love the idea of working with the deaf students and making them a part of the team. And I think one of the things that you see that works really well is through the process, they are friends. They communicate all the time. You see them out in the hallways together. They have found a way to communicate and be part of the same family. It's great.
Have they all learned to sign? It's another language.
It is, and I would say that they are able to sign and carry on conversations at varying degrees, depending on who they are. But I think most of the students in the theater program at this point have at least some sign and are able to communicate in a conversation by themselves with one of the deaf students.
I was going to say, do they have special classes for themselves, or are they mixed with the hearing?
The way that the program is structured at South is that there are classes that are mutually exclusive, that are DHH classes, but then there are also classes that are mainstreamed. I teach multiple sections of acting as well as stagecraft, and so does Michelle, and we have a spattering of deaf and hard of hearing students in those classes as well.
Well, I don't think all the schools do that. I don't think they're equipped to do that. For some reason, South Plantation High School has got a reputation now and has made a name for themselves and has gone after this. It's a matter of something that school wants to do. Do you have something to do with that? The fact that this is happening?
Well, I think so. The theater program, when I started directing in this style, the students that were in the DHH program were extremely reluctant to get involved. It's a very risky thing. Oftentimes what you see at the school is you have the deaf students and then you have the hearing students, and so they're very isolated and mutually exclusive. However, in a production, just like in any kind of a production, they work together and they start to feel at ease with each other. I have a number of students that are hearing students that, as a result of the work that they've done in some of the shows, are actually now taking American Sign Language classes. Likewise, I think that I've seen in the course of the last 5 years a large increase in the number of students that are deaf or hard of hearing enrolling into our classes because they're more comfortable in that area.
And integration is where it's at to begin with. I mean, I'm sure of that.
Absolutely.
So, Michelle, what's your background? Why this?
Well, my background was in theater and also in film, and I came to love teaching. And after having little bits of industry here and there, I came to teaching and really fell in love with teaching high school theater, and had the opportunity last year to come to South with Jason and become a 2-teacher program, which has been an extraordinary experience for us because, of course, we were friends before that happened. And we both share the same philosophy of high expectations of the students, and therefore high expectations leads to high quality programming, and also I believe gives those students an opportunity to really grow as individuals and become leaders and become really responsible young adults. And because we're so much on the same page with that, we've worked really well in building this program from where Jason had taken it to a great place, and now together we're taking it further.
How about the Cappies?
How about the
How about the
Cappies?
Cappies?
You're very involved with that too,
We
I'm
are.
sure.
Yeah.
We are. In fact, I think we've both been now for 6 years a part of the Cappies program. And
Something like that.
yeah, and I'm
Tell
part
us
of
a little bit
steering
about
committee.
the Cappies, although I have had a program just
Sure.
recently on it.
Well, the Cappies is the South Florida Critics and Awards program. It is our chapter of a national Critics and Awards program that's really grown to be, I think, something really notable in the country, where different high school theater programs put a team of critics together, and they go around in their region and actually review each other's shows and really celebrate high school theater at its finest.
And then you have a big, big celebration
We do.
and an awards celebration, just like the Tony Awards.
Exactly.
And in fact, we film it for you. Beacon TV is very involved with it. And I will be this year as well.
Wonderful.
I'm really pleased about that. So now let's talk a little bit. Jason, do you mirror Michelle's background? And
I come to this from a little bit of a different background. I started in education. I wanted to be a teacher from the beginning. And then I kind of fell into teaching theater, fell in love with it. And then I went on and pursued my master's degree in directing. So my background is in both education and in theater with an emphasis in directing. And you know, like she was saying, you know, we both have a program that we absolutely love, and we're both empowered by the fact that our students, they fall over backwards in order to do what it is that we're telling them to. We can mention something, you know, I taught English for years, and it was like pulling teeth in order to try and get the students to ever become engaged in anything at all.
Sure.
But you mentioned that you might think about doing a play next year, and they're
All of a
checking
sudden.
out copies from the library and passing it around to each other and everything like that. It's an amazing thing.
I
It's
know.
extremely powerful.
been there, done that.
Right.
Yes. Okay, let's set up for West Side Story. This is this phenomenal performance that you did put on that got wonderful mention in all the papers and media. So I have seen this particular clip,
Okay.
and you have hearing and non-hearing performing together, and the hearing performing with the non. You have to explain how that works.
You want to take that one?
Sure. Last year we started exploring the concept or the idea of doing West Side Story. I had a number of students that were deaf that wanted to get involved. Through the audition process, I fell in love with a girl by the name of Giovanna, who I cast as Maria. In order to make this work, I needed to cast a counterpart to the part of Maria, and so I cast the voice of Maria. And in that, what we did was we took what the playwrights had already brilliantly given us, which was an examination of cultural clashes and cultural differences between the Puerto Ricans and the Americans, and we superimposed on top of that a culture clash between the world of the deaf and hard of hearing and the world of the hearing, and that clash that often exists even today in contemporary society between those two cultures. The sharks then exist in the world of the deaf, and the jets exist in the world of the hearing. So in order for this production to be accessible to everybody in the audience, obviously we needed to work with the jets and strategically place within the jets interpreters so that they would be interpreting for the deaf and hard of hearing audience members what the jets were saying. So
How ambitious, how very, very ambitious, and it worked.
It was extremely, it was challenging because you know you already take a show that has so many people involved in it, and then you add more people on that, and then you had to work very directorially with how to stage a particular number in order to make it something that isn't distracting. And so we think we got there.
Let me just set it up a little bit, that Maria is deaf, but we have someone singing for her.
Yes.
And so we see the two Marias the one singing and the one who is performing.
Correct.
And that holds true in the big scenes where you have those signing what's going on up front or on the side. So I just want our audience, it's over. I wish you could play it twice, once setting it up and then go back again and say, now you see what I was talking about. But I think let them be intrigued.
Okay.
And let's show it right now. This is West Side Story. Phew.
The Jets to be the #1 to sail to hold the sky. Yes. Cha, cha, cracko, jacko. Pam, pam. All right, boys, we rumble. Yeah. Now, shh. Maria.
Quiet.
Come down.
No.
Maria.
Please, it's Bernardo.
Oh, he's at the dance. Come down.
He will soon bring Anita home.
For a minute?
A minute is not enough.
How about an hour?
I cannot.
Forever. Shh. Then I'm coming up.
Momentito, Mama.
Maria?
It is dangerous.
But I'm not one of them.
You are. For here you are. And what was just a world is a song tonight. See the pretty girl in that mirror there. What mirror? Where? Look at that attractive girl, please. What? Where? Such a pretty face, such a pretty lips, such a pretty smile, such a pretty me, such a pretty me. I feel stunning and entrancing, feel like running and dancing. What time where I love, like a pretty, wonderful boy. Island of tropic diseases. Always they hurricanes blowing. Always their population growing. See, I need time and the money owing. Where's my money? And their babies crying. And their bullets flying. I like the island Manhattan. I know you do. Smoke on your pipe and put that in. I like to be in America. Okay, by be in America. Everything free in America. Por eso be in America.
Maria? Maria?
Tony!
Maria! Oh. I didn't believe hard enough.
Loving is enough.
Not here.
Wow. First, I must say the set is magnificent. Is it done by students?
That was a student set design.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Wonderful job. And the choreography is outstanding.
Thank you.
Who's your choreographer?
We work with a gentleman by the name of Ron Hutchins. He is a member of SSDC. If you're familiar with the South Florida Theater
Yeah.
Company, I'm sure you know his name.
He is wonderful.
And
And
it
he's
shows.
wonderful not only as a choreographer, but as a teacher to the students.
Absolutely.
And just what a wonderful creative part of our team.
Yeah, very important, because West Side Story, of course, is a dancing show.
It's all choreography.
Yeah.
This worked it was a beautiful melding. Really, really worked. You don't know where to look first, but to just get the overall. How many performances do you do when you do perform?
Usually about 7.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
worthwhile. It's a very, I hate to use the word adult or mature, but it is company. The students that you have, you know, it's college. It's the next step up. They're like university students already.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure they weren't all seniors.
No.
So
Not at all.
But frankly, you could have passed for the students just as easily. So I'm sure
Isn't she
they
nice?
enjoy,
I like her.
and there's nothing they enjoy more than having teachers who are not ancient, you know, but close to their own ages. Now, we do have another clip of the musical, the high school musical, is it
Right.
called? Yeah.
Yes.
And is there anything different in this one than what we just saw.
Yeah, well, High School Musical was a show that we had produced last year, and I think the primary difference between the way that that show is produced in the style of theater for the deaf and the way it was done with West Side Story is that High School Musical, everything is signed and sung and performed all at the same time. The entire cast is doing that. But with West Side, what I loved is that Jason really incorporated the element of deaf culture into the show. With that, we had deaf characters as well as hearing characters. Even one of the students in the show that is a hearing actor was portraying Bernardo as a deaf character. And I think that ability to really explore what that means to be deaf in our society, yes, that's something that worked, I thought, so well in West Side Story. And with High School Musical, we hadn't quite discovered that element yet. That, right, High School Musical was more of a different kind of exploration of theater for the deaf.
Well, and with that, I think that practically, any show can be directed in the style of theater for the deaf. But the difference between West Side Story and High School Musical is who is it that it is for? And does it work within the world of the play? Exploring deaf culture within the world of the play for West Side Story fit like a glove. High School Musical was directed in the style of theater for the deaf, but it was really truly to make it accessible to deaf audience members as well as hearing audience members. So every show is a little bit different and unique in the way that you would treat it.
Do you have special performances just for the deaf, or all the audience is mixed?
I think that depends on the show we're directing. With that, right, because some of our shows are done in the style of theater for the deaf, in which case every performance is accessible to the deaf audience no matter what.
Correct.
When we do a show that is not specifically in that style, we make sure that we have at least one performance that is always interpreted for our deaf and hard of hearing audience members, because they're a part of our community and we encourage their attendance at the shows.
And to reach them, you have, there are groups, obviously,
yes,
that you contact to bring in.
Over the course of the last few years, we started doing a lot of work with other outside agencies. Our program has begun to gain a reputation for specializing in this kind of training and this kind of theater programming. We work very heavily with the League of Hard of Hearing, which is a deaf and hard of hearing advocacy agency local to South Florida. And we also have worked with the Alliance for Families with Deaf Children and other agencies in the area, and we start with reaching out through those agencies, and then we would also use different blogs and web email lists and stuff like that.
Okay, let's go to High School Musical now
Okay.
and see what it looks like.
It feels so right to be here with you. Oh, and now I finally realize I feel in my heart started something. Oh, started something. Oh, started something. Oh, started something.
Coach said to a fake right and break left. Watching for the pick and keep an eye on the fence. Gotta run the give and go, take the ball to the hole, and don't be afraid to shoot the outside J. Just get your head in the game. Just get your head in the game, and don't be afraid to shoot the outside J. Just get your head in the game. You gotta get your head in the game. You gotta get her head in the game. You gotta get your head in the game. You gotta get her head in the game. Come on, get your head in the game.
The way you do, and I've never had someone as good for me as you. No one like you. So lonely before I finally found what I've been looking for. What's with you and those stupid jazz squares?
Oh, too hard for you? I can dumb it down again.
So good to be seen, so good to be heard. Don't have to say a word.
Now there is souls
Rising till it lifts us up, so everyone can see we're breaking free. Flying, there's not a star in heaven that we can reach. If we're trying, yeah, we're breaking free. Running,
the signing is like choreographing.
Yes,
exactly
it is.
what it
Beautiful
is.
to
Exactly.
look at.
It's exactly what it is.
So beautiful. I should take a course. I just who would I talk to? I'd have to come to school. For the future, continuing this programming.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so what's next?
You know, I think one of the things I think that we're both really proud of is not only that we are incorporating theater for the deaf for audience members and for those students that are working in the productions that we've seen, but I think it's so important that our deaf and hard of hearing students that are a part of our program, regardless of whether the show is being done in the style for theater for the deaf, they're a part of our program. And I think right now, one of those things that is our focus is to be able to provide that training in tech and in acting for our deaf students as well as our hearing students. You know, equal access across the board, because we have in West Side Story as well as in Damn Yankees last year, our spotlight operator, fully deaf and brilliant at what he did, followed those cues flawlessly. And I think as we look at more and more of the deaf students becoming a part of the program, I think it's just wonderful to watch how expressive they are.
Now you know these students. What was their background originally? This is high school. What about middle school? What about elementary school? Yeah, what about that? What happened there to them?
We have such a wide mix of student populations. We've got kids that have been performing since they were extremely young, to kids that have absolutely zero theater background, to kids who are deaf, that never were involved in anything at all and then finally became involved at the high school level. One of the things that I think is one of the coolest discussions that I've ever heard with one of our deaf actresses was about how when her and her friend were in middle school, as deaf students, they were ashamed. They were ashamed to be in public, they wouldn't sign in public, and that simply by their involvement in the theater program at our school and in building that sense of confidence and in showcasing it in front of the world, that they have become so confident in who they are as human beings that it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
And as far as speech is concerned, because they are deaf, they have their speech is kind of special too, but they can speak. The thing is,
Some can,
Correct.
some can't.
is that right? Some can't.
Well, we leave that really up to the students.
Yes, I understand. Because
There's a certain level of comfortability that they might or might not have with their voice, and if they want to use their voice, then we will try, and then if not, then fully signing is fine.
I was wondering if there isn't special therapy in voice therapy, you know, if there is, I know there is actually, that does assist them.
And because we're the cluster program in Broward County, we have an audiologist and a speech therapist that work on staff at the school.
You know, in addition to this, you do have performances that are with the hearing.
Yes.
And I want to show one of those. I have a clip of Damn Yankees, one of my
Wonderful.
favorite shows.
Wonderful.
They had a revival of it this past summer in New York in July, and I saw it.
Great.
So let's see what you've done.
Okay.
Damn Yankees. Here we go.
Shoeless Joe from Hannibal, go, 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 go like a bat out of you know where.
Shoeless Joe from Hannibal Mo.
Strike at the floor, let know you're there.
Shoeless Joe from Hannibal Mo.
Shoeless Joe from Hannibal, Mo.
Shoeless Joe from Hannibal Mo.
Came upon the scene.
As fresh as the story.
He sneezed and blew away a calf. His laughter ripped a barn in half.
Go Joe, go like Sam's gonna left.
He lives by the television set. If you see that man of mine, how does he look? I forget.
Go.
6 months out of every year, we know there is no other day. If he's in home by 6 and 6 to 1, there's a game.
Oh, you gotta keep your mind on the game. What? We've gotta think about the game. The game. The game. We've gotta think about the game. The game. The game. Booze and broads may be great, though they're great, they'll have to wait while we think about the game. we think about the gig. There was that waitress back in Kansas City, built for comfort, dumb but pretty. Yeah? Oh, yeah? Man, her perfume sure did smell.
Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. And little man, little Lola wants you. Make up your mind to have no regret.
Well, if I don't see you before, I'll see you at the Cappies. What show will I see as your Cappy?
West Side Story.
Oh, no, it's going to win.
Well,
How could it not?
there's a lot of really good programs in
There
South
are.
I know,
Florida
I've seen
that we-
some of them. Laurie Sessions was here
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah, she's
talking
a good
about
friend of
Cappies and
ours.
showed me some footage, wonderful footage of past Cappies.
Yeah.
Competition is tough,
It
really
is.
tough. Isn't
South
it
Florida
great
high school
at a
theater
high
is
school
strong.
level to
It
see
is.
that? When I think back to my time in high school and the very placid shows that we did back then, this is ambitious and rightly so. And I'd love to see the public awareness and involvement. And how would that be? How would the public get involved?
Well, you know, the hardest thing is that I don't know of any high school in the area that receives any kind of funding. We produce shows that we strive for professional theater, and we receive zero budget. They can help through sponsorships and donations.
Help with the budget always.
Absolutely.
Get to the shows, watch the newspapers because you do announce it.
Buy those tickets.
You're right there with the professional theaters. Buy a ticket, come, and then perhaps, of course, the parents and those
Of course.
involved in the theater. You're so dependent on them, and you know.
And they're so supportive of us.
Absolutely.
They, you know, they're inspired by their children, and that's wonderful because they become just as much a part of our program as their kids.
And they have the
Which
two of you
inspires us.
as role models, I mean,
Right.
without a doubt. And after you speak to them and they see you here, you're going to have tremendous support. So again, let's say goodbye this time to Michelle Terl and to Jason Zembuch. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely.
It's
Thank
really
you.
very special. It was a special thing for me. It's been a long time since I've seen high school productions. So thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Please continue to watch us every week right here on stage. Go to Plantation High School.
South Plantation.
South Plantation High School.
South Plantation High School. Wow.